Hello to all. This is Taking It Down. Of course, you know that. You clicked on it. Our episode today has all three of our hosts here, includes me. We're going to talk about the TV show Ponies on Peacock. Sounds like an odd name, but we'll explain that. Some of you may have watched it. We'll talk briefly in the non-spoiler side about the NBC debut of the fall and the rise of Reggie Dinkins. And we have to talk about the new series in the Game of Thrones universe that debuted recently, titled The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Joining me will be Adam and Donovan. We'll get them in here. We hope that we help you find television shows. And in the spoiler section, which is in the back half of our weekly podcast, we hope we give you the depth to think about each of these shows you've watched, compare thoughts. So share us with a friend. But for now, I'm going to get Adam and Donovan in here and begin the show.
Alabama take projection.
Okay, here we are, right? We're recording.
That's true. I'm here.
Never any spoilers in this first half of our weekly podcast, but Donovan, did you want to start with HBO's Heated Rivalry?
My wife likes the show Heated Rivalry, and she is a very, very good sport about watching a lot of stuff for this podcast. So she asked me if I would watch it, and this is a little bit my own fault because I said I heard there was a wolf parade drop in one of the episodes. And I'm like, I like Wolf Parade. So we talked, and I said, okay, I'll watch it. And what I have learned these past, I've watched 4 episodes, and I am fairly to very straight.
That's your takeaway?
That's my takeaway. If you like it, that's great. It's not for me. The acting is pretty good. You know, like it's a well-made series. It's just not what I enjoy.
I had a friend text me and say, I'm having to watch Heated Rivalry to know what the hell my friends are talking about. And she said, I'm guessing you don't have this problem. And I said, this has not come up in my day-to-day life. And then the very next day, Donovan, you texted and said, so about this Heated Rivalry show.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And what it is something a lot of people like. And that's fine. And I have to say, I've tried to give this show a very fair shake. Not playing on my phone. Like I really want to okay, if I'm gonna really try and engage with it. And what I've learned is that after games, all professional athletes kiss each other.
Wow. Oh, right.
Every single one of them.
Man.
Just immediately start having flashbacks to the Bruno comes to Alabama.
Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce just making out.
There's celebrating each other's strength.
Tom Brady, he was kissing everyone on the lips.
Well, he's a handsome man.
Donovan, what, in seriousness, because this is clearly a cultural phenomenon happening, why do you think that is? In the way that most of the time, even if we watch a show that we don't like, it's okay, I understand X, Y, and Z about this.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I guess on the heels of something like that, I also don't fully understand, which is, if you read kind of in the book world, right? These kind of quote unquote spicy romances have been really popular. Now, I do think that one of the appeals of it is at any time is it has a happy ending, right? You know that it's going, it's a romance, going in that it's going to have a happy ending.
Do you even on HBO?
Yeah, well, it's a Canadian show.
Oh.
So woke?
Oh, is it woke, Blaine?
Is it woke?
Blaine, several of the hockey players are gay.
Oh. So woke.
This is, according to my wife, there's plenty of sex in it, and the sex is moving, but it's what the work it's doing is it's moving the plot forward in that the characters are being tender or are emotionally engaging with each other or whatever. And so that, honestly, my review at one point was I feel like I'm watching Enemy at the Gates. These sex scenes are interminable.
I've never understood how sex scenes can progress a story. I've never understood that. And I know I'm doing a TV podcast.
This is what I've been told. Honestly, for me, and I don't want to say anything offensive because I don't think that anything's wrong with this show.
No.
I don't want to, I'm not trying to say anything homophobic, but at a certain point it was like, okay, I don't need to see them like brush their teeth either. Like, I get that they're engaging in like a normal human activity, but like I don't. This is like watching them do the dishes. Like, I'm not feeling the, like I'm not feeling it moving it forward.
Yeah, I don't need to see them take a crap either.
Right. There's some stuff like where they stay perhaps after they've had sex or where their relationship, because there's a sexual tension. But the scene itself has not done much for me. So if you are the kind of person who likes that, and I think there are lots of people out there who are able to kind of see that emotional through line, then more power to you. But for me, I was just like, okay, this could be 2 episodes. Like, we could get 4 episodes into 2 episodes if we could just get these two stop banging all the time.
Here's my totally unqualified take, and it's multi-layered. I think that there's a lot of excitement that it was a very popular romantic book. Okay, so there's that. And then the second aspect, I think, is that critics are just thrilled with representation at this level. But yet there is an article I recently read that said critics are thrilled, they think it's great representation, it's popping up on porn sites even, and then the gay community think that it's nowhere near enough. So
yeah. Okay.
I don't understand. But the thing that happened to me was that it just, one day I saw 1 article, the next day I saw 2 articles, the next day I saw 5 articles, the next day I saw 10. I was like, what is this show?
I've been enjoying the Onion and Clickhole content. The Onion will do like 7 questions with, so they're having a pretend interview with one of the actors. And like, it was like, they asked like, what did you do for this? I was like, well, I went to my acting coach, like I prepared. And the other guy's like, I went on Pornhub and searched gay. So that made me chuckle. Yeah. I mean, at least for my wife, it is a book. I guess there's 2 books about these characters.
Okay.
It's people already went into it loving it, and I mean I agree, like representation is important. I kind of made that joke about Enemy at the Gates, which I really dislike as a movie, but there's a horribly interminably long sex scene in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's like 9 minutes. Yeah,
and it's like, but on the other hand, I'm like, you know what, if that can go out there, then this should be able to go out there too, right? Because this is destabilizing that level of heteronormativity is probably not bad. However, it is not necessarily my cup of tea.
This is a totally different conversation, maybe, and maybe we're digging too deep here, but like it's a phenomena that ladies and men probably are, now that there is Kindle, that they can read things without being embarrassed about what's on the cover. And Heated
This is a
Rivalry.
Different conversation.
This is a different conversation.
It's a funny one.
It's an interesting one. Like, I can read anything, because I have occasionally had a book where I'm like, I don't want to really see anybody. People don't need to see me reading How to Boost Your Self-Awareness. And I'm like, I'll stick a piece of paper in front of it and read it. That I was totally joking about.
To all you listeners out there, I hope I come across respectfully. Just, it's not for me, and that's fine.
Well, you gave it a shot, which is.
I tried to give it a fair shake, and I wanted to engage with it honestly.
HBO's never put it on my home screen, by the way.
Because it's a Canadian TV show. And they're like, well, we're only going to have basically like Canadian music in here. And a lot of it's like late aughts, early teens. And it's like, you can actually soundtrack a pretty damn good show that way.
I wonder if there's any like extra incentives for them to do that as a Canadian production. Much like Canadian radio has to play X number of Canadian artists.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if we can get any further in this week's recording without bringing up Netflix's Skyscraper Live that aired over the weekend.
Man, I couldn't make it 10 minutes, honestly.
Did you not watch all of it?
No.
Oh, I called my daughter in the room, and she was just like all tense and yelling. And
I was like, I could see someone die here. I can't handle this.
Oh, she was for it. She kept saying, they've got nets under him. And I was like, no, they don't. No, darling. They have no ropes or nets, or there's no big, huge rubber mat at the bottom of this. And she was just like, bro. She kept saying, bro.
She says bro now?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good development. I like that. Does she call you chief yet?
Not yet. But she kept yelling to the TV, bro, you're going to fall. I loved it. Adam, you've climbed in your time, so what are your comments or thoughts that you have on Alex Honnold and the 11th tallest building? I looked it up because I think I missed when they said it.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a considerable amount of my 20s climbing and traveling for it and all that stuff, and loved it.
Like rocks.
Yeah.
Okay. Not skyscrapers.
Not like the Empire State Building.
No. And for an amateur who of limited athletic skill, like at a high enough level to understand what they are doing. And I only say that because when he first popped up back even before Free Solo and all that, when I watched, I could intellectually understand kind of what was going on because they're doing things that are well within their ability. There's a few disciplines in climbing, right? Like a lot of people boulder, which is where you're climbing not that high over pads. You can sport climb, which is where you're clipping in, you have a rope that you're clipping into pre-drilled bolts as you go up a rock face. And then you can also trad climb, traditional climbing, where you're placing, that's like the old, you have that full rack of stuff around on your harness, and you're like, oh, I got to put this cam right here. That's going to catch me if I fall. I say all that to say, when you sport climb, that's where you're climbing kind of at your physical limit.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, I never did the trad climbing. It was all bouldering and sport climbing. The trad climbing freaked me out because you have to climb below your physical skill level because you're placing those pieces as you go, which obviously you're expending extra energy to put the piece in, and then trusting that intellectually you understand. You're making judgments for your life the whole time. And sport climbing is more dangerous than going for a walk, but in the grand scheme of things, significantly less dangerous. I mean, you're still 100 feet up in the air, but less dangerous than this. So for him to go past all of that and be like, none of that, not using any of it. When you see the movements that he was doing, either in Free Solo or last night on Netflix, it's I understand how he's doing this. Now, I haven't been climbing in over 10 years because it just really shredded my hands and I started making money playing music, and that seemed like a bad idea. But I did not have sweaty palms when I watched him before. Last night, my hands were drenched, my feet were sweating. I mean, the whole thing. It was.
And your wife's done some climbing. Did she?
Quite a bit, yeah.
Did she yell at the TV in it?
She hated watching it. Hated it. And part of it is, I think that, and she brought this up, she actually said, this is one of the most graceful artistic sports that you can do. And I agree with the movements are very, they can be very powerful in gymnastic, but there's also, you have to be in complete control of your body and making kind of life or death decisions, even if you're sport climbing and you're doing it with the flow of this natural object, right? Up in these spaces that you could not otherwise be. And so to just climb something that someone has built takes away a bit of that communion with nature in a way. He did the same movement over and over again. Now, all of that said, I thought it was manipulative TV in a way, having his wife be interviewed and all of that. And
I saw some of that.
It's such a thin line because on the one hand, this is primal entertainment.
Yeah.
I think that we have been, as a species, it's y'all, old boy's going to climb that cliff outside of the village. We should all go watch because either he's going to do it and it's going to be awesome, or he's not. And it's tough to look away from a car wreck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I kept thinking?
What's that?
This is better than any Alabama football game I watched this season.
You shut your trap.
Hey, I'm serious.
When we were climbing a lot, because it is so... It's not life and death in the same way that we watched last night, but it does feel very primal. Again, I'll use that word. And then to go back, Yeah, I mean, then you go back and watch like a normal sport, and you're like, oh, this is kind of. I mean, they're playing like Nerf ball here. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel quite this. Like, I flipped over to Alabama, Tennessee to catch the end of that. I was like, oh, the stakes are not high enough for me right now.
Maybe if they would like execute the losers, like that kind of thing. Like if they just take the team out behind Coleman and shoot him.
Which brings us to Ponies. A Peacock series, so we will actually get into it. Adam and I have laid eyes upon 2 episodes.
I watched a trailer.
And?
I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious.
Unless you two hated it.
Well, I'm interested to hear. I really am interested to hear what Adam has to say. It's pretty cool. I think this show successfully and sometimes unsuccessfully blends several things together. It's almost a comedy buddy show. It's very much a spy thriller. It's a gal hang in a very fun way. It stars Emilia Clarke in her eyebrows doing fine work, along with what quickly becomes her sidekick, Haley Lou Richardson, as the character Twyla. The setup had me lured in. I talked about it in our preview episode. And it's that both ladies are in 1977 Moscow as wives and the peak of the Cold War. And they're both considered persons of no interest. That's the title, Ponies, in case you're confused. It's the first Peacock show we've ever discussed on the podcast in any depth. And I'm very just curious, broad thoughts here.
Broadly, it's funny that I couldn't have foreseen us talking about Alex Honnold before talking about this show, but it does kind of make you ask the same questions in a way. I mean, it's obviously a fiction, but there are people who are choosing to, I feel it's not a spoiler to say that if you were an American in Moscow in 1977, you were in a fair amount of danger, potentially.
It's scary as hell, and I wish they would tap into that more. We'll get into this in spoilers.
Mm-hmm. What sold me is the aesthetic is very interesting.
Yes.
I have not seen many shows that are based in 70s Moscow,
Same.
Unless they are like, I kept thinking, how many times has someone ended up behind the Iron Curtain as like a B plot or like a few episode arc and then they get out or, whatever it is. Thinking of like Stranger Things or something like that.
Exactly. He was in the Siberian camp, but that was it.
I don't know. I enjoy it because I think we're thinking more about Russia than we have in some time at this moment. And it's interesting culture that is like not, in a way, like not accessible to us.
Yeah.
So like to be somewhere, especially in the first episode, that kind of, they're just like going to the market and going to a pub and doing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm up for this.
Yeah, me too. I really like those scenes. I have a deep concern the show won't find its audience because it's buried in layers. It should have a broad appeal. Having the ladies at the forefront of the Cold War spy game isn't something you see often. So there should be a novelty to that would bring in more people, and I think that a lot of people will see it as a spy thriller and shrug it off and misinterpret the fact that there are dynamics between 2 ladies who are friends as well. So
yeah, and to see both of them acting in this way is fun. Like I think Emilia Clarke it's funny, people who are like stars of things like a Game of Thrones, you think of them as very big stars, but are they then stuck with that forever? Yeah. And to see her do something, it's a very different character.
Hugely different.
And I think she's doing very well. And I think to see her counterpart, remind me of that actress's name.
Haley Lou Richardson.
I mean, I know her mostly from season 2 of White Lotus.
Oh, that's right. I've forgotten where I'd seen her.
And she's playing an entirely different character.
Yes,
here.
she is. That's
so.
Why. The 2 leads are they're there to contrast one another.
Buddy cop style, right?
That's the odd couple.
I like that.
Once again, you've got Emma Clarke's button-up rule follower versus Haley Lou Richardson's maybe over the top at times very loose canon type person. And, we've seen it in The Odd Couple. We've seen it in, you name it.
Hey, one of my favorite movies of like the past 10 years is The Nice Guys, and it's just it's Shane Black, right? It's just it's the Lethal Weapon formula.
It's a lot of that. It's a lot of that, and then that sometimes helps it, and that sometimes hinders it. We'll get into a lot more specifics.
This is good. This is interesting for me, y'all's review, because I had actually come into it. I'd watched the trailer and maybe not picked up on that. And I had come into it wondering if I was going to just, the whole time I watch it, be unfairly comparing it to the Americans, which I think would be... Okay. It's a very, very, very hard...
I was curious how they presented it in the ad.
I mean, there seemed like a little bit, but it was also kind of like spy stuff. It seemed more built around spy stuff than any... banter, really? Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but... And
they do a lot of spy stuff, and when they do it, it's really good. More in spoilers for those who've seen a few episodes, 2 episodes. NBC did a really weird thing a couple of weekends ago. I think it was on January 18th after an NFL playoff game. They debuted the pilot of a sitcom called The Rise and Fall of Reggie Dinkins. It's... available on Peacock, too, for those of us who don't catch things immediately. Co-created by Robert Carlock, and if that sounds familiar, it's because he co-created or worked on 30 Rock, The Unbreakable Kimby Schmidt, plenty more. Mr. Mayor. Usually he's paired with Tina Fey, and she's only in a producer's role here. But we got Tracy Morgan playing a failed NFL star, and I can't help but laugh because it is a good show. And he's trying to regain some credibility with the help of Daniel Radcliffe. That's right, Harry Potter. He is Arthur Tobin, an Oscar-winning director, and he's basically saying, film me, create a documentary around my current life, and they're both thinking they're doing separate things. He's thinking, this is going to make me a lovable man again, and Tobin is thinking, I'm going to really document this gentleman's life. And that neither are on the same page. And there were jokes here that had me really laughing. And so much of it is Tracy Morgan's blank stare delivery.
I was coming into this and I was thinking, there are some folks like this for me, where I'm like, I don't know if he's funny or not, because I laugh at everything he says. Just like the way he says it is so funny to me. It's hilarious.
We may not bring this up in spoilers because I don't think Adam has seen it. So we may leave it on the table. But again, it's really weird. They did the pilot January 18th, and they're not going to air the rest of the 8 or 9 episodes until late February.
Yeah, I thought that was... Because honestly, based on what I saw, I'd watch more.
I would love to watch more. And
this is kind of right up my alley. I love that 30 Rock style of humor.
And it's going to be on NBC once a week, if I'm not mistaken. Apparently, I had good ratings.
See, this is where I was confused, Blaine. We mentioned before. I really thought it was a Peacock show the way NBC did this.
Yeah, no, it's NBC broadcast. It's funny to be talking about a broadcast TV show here.
I was just thinking, like, NBC is really the last, like, network that I've ever felt that I have felt a need to talk about, like, their broadcast TV shows. I think they had the last, like, truly great broadcast TV drama, which was Hannibal.
Oh, that's right.
And that every week that was on, you were like, how the hell is this on NBC?
Yeah, how's it on broadcast? I kept seeing headlines of that.
Great show. It's like an art house TV. It's awesome.
But you're right, Tracy Morgan. Him trying to brag on his son for studying. I'll leave it at that.
His when we find out the reason that he's had a fall.
Yes. That's a good reveal.
I was howling.
Yeah. And it's so well cast because Michael Costa and Ronnie Chang, both from The Daily Show, appear in this, and they fit perfectly with how they're appearing. Michael Costa is an ESPN type of guy. And it's just like, yeah, of course he is. Give it a try, people.
I feel like from the first episode, Daniel Radcliffe hasn't quite clicked with me yet, but also it is a pilot. They are moving pieces into place, and I have a lot of faith in Daniel Radcliffe. You know, he gets the most well-adjusted child actor award. He is funny and he is good. Like, he's not bad in this by any means. So
He's
I think
going
they're
to
going
come
to use him
around
well.
because of some things you find out. Yeah.
One of my favorite bits of Tracy Morgan ever in 30 Rock, he goes, "Ha! Wordplay." Liz Lemon. Another thing, whenever I'm thinking about trying to review something, there's a bit in 30 Rock where he's like, "I want to hold up a mirror to America and get an award for the biggest mirror."
He can deliver. Man,
He's great. He's so good.
You guys aren't as big as SNL fans as I am, but he may be one of my favorite SNL guys.
He's funny.
Boy, he was good.
There are things that he did in 30 Rock that they still like made me cry laughing,
With
thinking about.
laughter. Oh, I'm kind of glad he's back. I hope they hang in there with this one.
I do too. I feel for a pilot, I was like, this is really funny and coming together, and they have a vision. Yeah. Also, I have a soft spot for Bobby Moynihan to see
do too.
See his character.
Do you recall him on SNL as Drunk Uncle? Because I loved
that. Was one of my he was great. He was great, and he hasn't really done a lot of stuff, and I think he's actually really funny. So
same here.
Glad to see him. Yeah, it was clicking for me.
The flashbacks clicked.
The flashbacks were good. Like
stuff. It's good stuff.
The dynamics of all the characters were cracking me up. Like, just a lot. It was good. It was really funny.
It really is. I thought about watching it twice. That's how funny it was.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Thumbs up from Beth too, because she likes Tracy Morgan a lot, and of course, who doesn't like Daniel Radcliffe? He seems like a nice guy, and he's a good actor. One of my favorite bits of Tracy Morgan ever in 30 Rock, he goes, "Ha! Wordplay." Liz Lemon. Another thing, whenever I'm thinking about trying to review something, there's a bit in 30 Rock where he's like, "I want to hold up a mirror to America and get an award for the biggest mirror." He's great. He's so good.
You guys aren't as big as SNL fans as I am, but he may be one of my favorite SNL guys.
He's funny.
Boy, he was good.
There are things that he did in 30 Rock that they still like made me cry laughing, thinking
With
about.
Laughter. Oh, I'm kind of glad he's back. I hope they hang in there with this one.
I do too. For a pilot, I was like, this is really funny and coming together, and they have a vision.
Yeah.
Also, I have a soft spot for Bobby Moynihan to see his character.
Do you recall him on SNL as Drunk Uncle? Because I loved
that. Was one of my he was great. He was great, and he hasn't really done a lot of stuff, and I think he's actually really funny. So
same here.
Glad to see him. Yeah, it was clicking for me.
The flashbacks clicked.
The flashbacks were good. Like,
it's good stuff.
The dynamics of all the characters were cracking me up. It was good. It was really funny.
It really is. I thought about watching it twice. That's how funny it was.
Thumbs up from Beth too, because she likes Tracy Morgan a lot, and of course, who doesn't like Daniel Radcliffe? He seems like a nice guy, and he's a good actor.
Yep. While we're here and talking, it's time for the big one. The HBO foray back into Westeros with the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Takes that coveted Sunday slot, puts us always a week behind, but we don't mind because they're usually pretty good. We got the debut of a freshly knighted Sir Duncan the Tall, played by Peter Claffey, and he is soon paired with young Squire Egg, who's portrayed by Dexter Soul Ansel. And yeah, this is another Game of Thrones entry, but besides it taking place 100 years before of Game of Thrones, did feel different, and that was sort of the purpose. We're going to create one that feels a little different in this universe, and I think you guys both liked it, right?
Yeah, thumbs up here.
Thumbs up. I've got more to say, but thumbs up.
Yeah, we'll hold off on spoilers. I'll ask you more. The first episode is the Hedge Knight. That's what we'll be discussing. All of these will run down in the same order, except for Reggie. We'll hold off on Reggie Dinkins until he starts making some more moves in late February. He's good. Watch that one if you haven't.
I'm going to watch that.
Let's take a break and we'll talk spoilers of 2 episodes of Ponies and the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Our home site, the Alabama Take, where writings and many more podcasts exist. We've got 2 special podcasts coming out soon, one of which is Hidden Creatures. The other is Punk, Love, and Compassion. Be sure to follow along on the Alabama Take on any social media site, or even better, and even more reliable, is to subscribe to the newsletter, and you know what's going on with the Alabama Take. All right, let's get into spoilers. All right, if you like 70s spy thrillers with dashes of humor, you may have seen Ponies on Peacock. You may want to see Ponies on Peacock. This is the spoiler section, so you probably will want to have seen. Adam, first question, is it me or is it just really obvious that it's going to be revealed that Andre is a young Putin?
I don't even know what you're talking about. That made me laugh.
I mean, he kind of looks like it.
That hair.
Apparently, like I was looking at reviews, and apparently there is some. I was reading reviews of this, and apparently there is some sort of twist at the end. So I don't know.
Oh,
maybe
there's
you're
a
right,
twist
Blaine.
already.
Okay,
in
that kind of show.
Episode 2, and then I've seen 3 of them, and so yeah. The series doesn't waste time with its first episode. That was my first thought. Oh, we're in it. We barely even see the CIA husbands before they're killed off screen, and suddenly Beatrice and Twyla are operatives, since they're the least suspected to be involved in spydom.
Yeah, that it accelerated quickly. I thought that they would probably... I didn't know what was going to happen. I went in fairly cold, and to be honest, even their routine as... Ponies, they're just people who happen to be in this kind of the hotbed of international relations at the time. That would have been an interesting show to me.
If someone ever did make that show, like, can you imagine if like Matthew, like Weiner, did like You're on the Periphery, right. That would be so good. Can you
like there's someone stuff like that happening just off screen, but you just have an office job?
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I mean, obviously, because Mad Men does such a good job of that.
Totally. Just the fact that these superpowers are engaged in this standoff, but you still need a secretary.
Yeah.
You still need just the paper pusher kind of bureaucrats to be there too, is very interesting. I thought in some ways, I don't want... It seems like you have to suspend disbelief to think, oh, these... widows, essentially less than a month after the death of their husbands, can just go to the CIA and be like, hey, we want to be spies in the most important arena that you got. And they're like, yeah, okay, let's try it. But at the same time, when every time the CIA declassifies something and you find out about it, you're like, they're throwing a lot of stuff at the wall. Maybe they did try this.
I was just about to say that. Like, if you ever go to like their declassified reading room, and it's like, hey, we're gonna get with organized crime and see if we can convince them to kill Castro.
Right. Let's just try it.
There are no bad ideas.
Yeah.
The tension of that first episode, it was perhaps a lot lighter than what we've become accustomed to in the streaming age, where every episode has to create drama with every single scene. Not as much here. The only real suspense in episode 1 was towards the end, where the KGB agent approaches Beatrice in a bar, and Twyla's standing outside the bar and sees one of the clues that their husbands unintentionally left, I suppose. I think a dead Soviet cooperative had left it behind, and they know about it. The rest of it was a lot of build-up in episode 1, but I do suppose there's a lot of high stakes with the very real notion that anyone could be KGB. Like that lady selling the vegetables to the bartender or a priest. Everybody could be telling on anyone. And that part of Cold War era Moscow, Russia, scares me to death and fascinates me at the same time.
Yeah, I think just by being there, the stakes are fairly high, right? Like once you kind of clock into the game, there is no break. little things like, oh, we put a phone in your apartment so that this big bad guy can like call you to flirt with you.
Young Putin.
If we want to get into kind of our feelings on the quality of the show, I thought episode 1 was very, very good. And episode 2 fell off a little bit.
My opinion's the flip.
And I feel like episode 1 was like kind of the classic pilot syndrome of like, they thought a lot about that script and knew they had to hook you, and kind of eased off a little bit in episode 2. Because I thought the build up from, it's not that they had no stakes in the game, because obviously they had loved ones that were killed in the line of duty, or so we're to think. I feel like everything is up for debate in this show.
Yeah, everything does feel up to debate. Their husbands may not have died in that plane crash.
Regardless, they think that, and they leave. I thought them being sent back, I mean, they do little things, the details of the show, to make you really feel like you're experiencing it in a positive way. Little things like telling them how to pack to go home. We'll send the rest of your stuff, and then showing back up jet lagged at your family home. I don't know, and feeling like they went from a very interesting place to like, how do you...
Indiana trailer park or something.
Right, Rhode Island, whatever. Yeah. Like, how do you come back from the rush of being in the middle of all of that, even if you're just next to it?
When you put it that way, it makes a lot more sense that Twyla especially would say, I think I want to go back.
I think she is they say the guy with nothing to lose is like the most dangerous person. Yep. Like she... And they do little things with her to establish that. Like, I thought the bar scene worked so well because Lil Putin, this KGB agent, is
Andre,
like... Yeah. They convince you early on that you should be afraid of this guy.
He's creepy.
And he...
Dude is creepy. In episode 3, I won't say much more, but he's creepy.
They establish stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a body count already going. And, being like a generally... just like a handsome guy, but cold. It's not like he's like the guy behind the trench coat or whatever. He's like, kind of just walking through Moscow. Everybody's afraid of him. Mm-hmm. But him showing up at they call it a pub, at the bar, and crashing that meeting is great. But then her as being the lookout outside, being that feeling of like someone's yelling at me in Russian and I'm supposed to be undercover, but I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt all of the stakes in these scenes.
You really like this show.
First episode was really good. Second episode was just okay for me.
The second episode is where I really started feeling everyone is suspect, and I'd forgotten that idea in episode 1. Episode 2 drove it home. The lady trading disco information for cupcakes, she could be reporting to anyone in the party.
Totally.
I got a feel
or she could just be getting by.
That's true. I got a feel for Secretary Cheryl. I was like, this annoying woman keeps turning up everywhere. Is she a double agent? So you get all that. Like every person raises your eyebrow, not quite as high as Amelia Clark's, but your eyebrows get raised.
You think Amelia Clark is a little sus in this one?
No, not at all. I really don't. I think not her, but almost everyone else is open for interpretation. I think this is in the second episode as well. So the head of their program there, half CIA, half embassy, right? It's sort of embassy's the cover. The actor who's playing Dane Walter, the head, I think he's doing really... I like it when he's on screen. He plays it probably a little too seriously, but at the same time, he reminds you of where they are in the time period. And doesn't he convince Twyla in episode 2 to create a version of herself that makes Russians open up to her?
Right.
I love that.
That's part of her job. Yeah.
Yeah. Beatrice gets the training from Emile, who's not from France at all, in the least. In fact, he turns out to be a Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz, which all of that says things in very short order. Maybe too much shorthand there, but I thought it was okay for me.
Yeah, and it lets her talk about her family, right?
Yes.
Like that's part of the importance there.
It deepens Beatrice, who had, I think, grandparents in the Holocaust, both of which was a sad moment. Is this really filmed in Moscow?
It's a good question.
Budapest.
Every building, though, looks like it's in the 70s and has a KGB agent lurking around it.
I love all the street shots.
Yeah, the street shots are amazing. I don't know if you picked up on this, Adam. The aspect ratio's made to look like a 70s TV show.
Mm-hmm.
I love that kind of thing. Yeah, second episode, plenty of reasons to keep watching. The mysteries unanswered, like, did their husband's flight really crash? Is Andre on to Beatrice? How much danger are both of the ladies in at that point? And what's so important about that executive of Coke that the spies would need to get in bed with him?
I mean, he's just a great capitalist, right?
I suppose.
Got to bring him down.
And it's his very blatant wig. Is he an agent? You know? Because that wig is a wig.
He's wigging.
He is wigging out.
out.
George of Coca-Cola wearing a wig is very much happening in Ponies.
You know, this is one of those shows that I've said how much I enjoyed episode 1 and episode 2 was good. I just wonder, like, will it end conclusively this season? Or it feels like this would be like a very good miniseries or movie, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, do I want to see repeated adventures of this pair? I'm not sure yet.
Mm-hmm. The underlying notion that they're taking advantage of sexism of the time, especially in the USSR, and turning it into a positive. I thought those twists and ideas are relatively cool, and I don't think I've seen much of it. Even Dane admits that the Russians have paid no mind to the wives, even if I'm not so sure that's the case. He does say that.
It is interesting. I mean, it's kind of an easy point to score, right? But like, it's still compelling, I think.
Yeah.
If they were widowed and they went away and came back, wouldn't they take notice of that? I don't know.
That would personally raise a red flag for me, but I'm also not in counterintelligence, so what do I know?
That is sort of explained in episode 3. And Donovan, you're right. It does have a moment or two that feels like the Americans, yet flipped.
Uh-huh.
But it's not too bad when that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
It still kind of works.
Hey, folks, if you like this show, just go watch watch this show. Sorry, that was making it sound like I didn't say. Finish Ponies, then go watch The Americans, because if you like that, you're going to like The Americans as well.
Yeah.
Very different feeling shows, but...
Yeah. One's very serious drama, the balance of the tone of Ponies is an odd one. But we'll see how it goes.
I'm intrigued.
It is intriguing.
Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't, No,
I think you will.
Yeah.
And I think viewers probably like it if they've seen the first 2 episodes. It's just a matter of understanding. There's probably not some greatness here, but it's quite good. Especially if you like spy intrigue.
Yeah. You know, the one hurdle to enjoying here is fighting off the intrusive thoughts of Genuine's song Pony every time you pull it up.
Well,
especially the Parks and Rec.
Let's switch gears. Very, very much not 1977, but...
No gears on a horse.
Fantasy world.
It's true.
The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It feels as though it's going to give us plenty to mull over in its 8 episodes, I think we're getting. If it does give us plenty to mull over, that's on par for HBO. Shows it on Sunday. Do either of you know more of the story than what's given in episode 1?
I have not read the book.
Okay.
So I'm coming in blind.
Same.
You know who was not only the king of the Seven Kingdoms, but the king of spoilers?
Who?
Joffrey.
Yeah, was he the one who mentioned the Duncan egg?
Well, he mentions Sir Duncan the Tall, for sure.
Oh, really?
I didn't.
I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps me a lot.
He gives a whole speech, and if you remember that, then Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen, but you kind of know.
Huh.
Wow.
Well, I'm not going to look at it. I want to be surprised.
I didn't recall the context of when it was mentioned on Game of Thrones, but the poster for Seven Kingdoms Knighthood, it does say a tall tale that became legend. It's legendary in the Game of Thrones universe. But we shouldn't bury the lead here. Tell me what you made of that obvious statement-making moment of using the classic Game of Thrones intro music, only to have it cut to Dunk taking his shit behind this tree.
We haven't had this courageous use of poop in an HBO show since the poop episode of Somebody Somewhere.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Good.
And this one showed a flight path.
Yeah, yeah. That made me chuckle a little. I'm like, this is juvenile, but it made me chuckle a little bit.
There's some green apples on that tree, apparently.
Well, and Game of Thrones has always kind of been like this was like the low fantasy, like we're going to be in the dark corners. But like this is not, Dunk is not, he's a little rough around the edges.
Yet
also kind of wholesome.
Yes.
Dunk is.
He's a sweet lad.
Yeah.
I found that a little too hamming it up. Hey, here's the Game of Thrones intro. Nope. Here's a guy taking a shit.
Poop.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of critics are promising a really comedic tone beyond this episode. I did not find it hilarious or anything, but it was a little lighter, of course.
It's a bit lighthearted, yeah.
Especially compared to House of the Dragon, where everyone's brooding.
So, sometimes the humor is like, that's a little forced. At least that's how it came across to me. But this is nitpicking at this stage. It's the first episode. They're establishing things. They're trying to establish the tone.
But it feels humorous or lighthearted just because it doesn't immediately feel like the other two shows.
Yeah.
Which you guys have already kind of said. But I think what I enjoyed about it was, and we texted a bit about this, the idea of saying like, here's a world that you enjoy existing in. What about the other stories that happen there that are not as, like, people are going to die in this almost certainly, right? Because they're dropping like flies all the time in this world. But, it feels more like a fun ramble than the immediate, the world's going to end kind of vibes of the other ones.
It's a smaller scale. It's a different
scale. Yeah. It is a scale thing, I think.
It is a scale thing. I think we may only end up focusing a lot on Sir Dunk the Tall.
Which is fine.
He's such a likable character.
Like, he's at the end of his rope. He's not really a knight, This is his last chance. I don't think he has been knighted.
I don't think so either. That's the question. He claims to have been knighted right before his knight he was squiring for died. That's the opening scene of him burying the guy. So the question is... The robin
that he says was the witness is the bird that he looks at while taking a shit. So I do not think that he's been knighted. Maybe I'm wrong, but
is he?
I think he's kind of down on his luck here.
The reason to doubt that to me is like, does this guy seem capable of pulling the?
That was my question. Is he a lie? He's not the lying type.
This is not a Dick Whitman.
Well. He's trying to think of like, what can I do long term, right? As he's talking to the horses, it's like, I sell you. That's like, I don't think he's doing this maliciously. He's not trying to, at this point, like he's not trying to like marry a princess or something. He's just trying to survive.
It does, regardless of if it's a legitimate knighthood or not. Just the idea that we have only seen the great knights or the shameful knight, or like people who, again, it's a matter of scale and stakes. And even if he has been knighted by this other hedge knight, you know what I mean? They're like so unimportant. Like, you are a knight, but like, who really gives a shit?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
In the show, they're like, well, technically anyone knight can make a knight, but they're not impressed.
Do we want to explain what hedge knight versus other knights are? I don't know if I call it that.
He's sort of an itinerant. He does not have a house, right? That he's in a feudal relationship with, right? They don't necessarily. They're kind of
he's not serving a house.
Yeah, kind of going where they can, working where they can.
That's important. Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me because I'm sure they said it, but sometimes I miss some things.
He's middle class, but he's lower middle class.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, well, now I relate. That answers the hedge knight versus
He's sleeping in the
house
hedge.
knight, right? Would you say house knight?
I don't know if you'd say that, but that's kind of the counterpoint, right? Like someone who you have a lord, you work for him, he feeds you, you have a place to live, you have a place to stay, you have a job.
And then you have the king's knights, which is even better.
Yes.
I don't know if we'll see them. Adam may know more than that because he remembers Joffrey saying such and such. I was so happy to watch this show. Like, the joy it brought me was weird. Damn, I like Game of Thrones more than I thought I did.
Yeah, it was just fun to hang out there.
And then you pair that with Donk, who seems at least friendly, nice, or affable. The one thing he does do is he barely threatens Egg with a beating, but he would never touch the kid, You know he would not. There were great scenes, I thought. Very much a pilot episode. I'm here at this tournament. I do hope that the whole first season isn't the tournament. There was this scene, though, where Duncan opened up about his insecurities to Egg. I think they were watching the stars sleeping under a tree. And I found that to be one of the better scenes of Game of Thrones in a while.
Yeah, it was good.
Because he is insecure and he is not aloof, kind of goofy. People pick up on that. Lionel Baratheon. I'm glad to have another house name dropped here. Lionel Baratheon brings him over, and you think, oh shit, he's been caught at the party, uninvited. And Lionel says, what are you doing? And he kind of says, I'm eating.
Came for the food.
I came for the food, dude. And Lionel's like, hey, I like that. Come hang with me. And he ends up placing his antler crown on Donk, which was in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, they would have ended up fighting or being pissed at one another and fighting 3 episodes down the road. Not here.
Again, like, not everything is going to end in a duel or something horrible. This is just kind of like life is happening in this kingdom.
Usually festivities in Game of Thrones ends with people's throats being slit.
Usually not a good time.
Yeah. Lionel Baratheon, I could not get out of my mind that, is that Oscar Isaac in a cameo?
I see it. I see it.
Yeah. All right. Well, the opening to A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I think it's worth your time.
I wanted to watch more when it ended.
Yeah,
I'm like,
really
okay, I'll stick with this.
I have good news for your evening then.
Yeah, for our evening. Again, we record on Sunday. We're a week behind on Sunday evening shows. So next week, I bet we'll talk about episode 2, especially if there's a little more narrative trajectory, I suppose.
I've seen A Knight's Tale. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. There might be some jousting. He's going to do something extraordinary because he's a legend. So what's that going to be? Let's all find out together. We reached the conclusion of our podcast episode. And for Adam and Donovan, I am Blaine. And we hope you don't find yourself defecating behind a tree anytime soon.
Not unless you want
But if you do, I hope you see a shooting star as well.
A little later on.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.